Okay, I'm running the pig for Lawrence.
I don't know. I haven't seen him in a long time. Yeah.
Give me $5.
Thanks, Mario. Thank you. You want us to text you when we're done?
Thanks, sweetie. Yes.
Okay.
Call a special common council meeting to order about the revolving loan fund. Roll call, please.
Jane Pope.
Present.
Aaron Cook.
Here.
Bill Bruner.
Here.
Mike Lawrence.
Here.
J.R. Holcraft.
Here.
Attorney Leslie Votaw.
Here.
Mayor Dennis Carr.
Here.
And myself. We're all here.
The purpose of this special common council meeting was to, we called after the executive session that we had for any votes for common council, because the next meeting is just the revolving loan committee. So didn't know if there were any motions that you all wanted to make that came out of our executive session.
I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to proceed with foreclosure and to sue on the guarantees on the Linkmeyer development, Steve Linkmeyer, Brian Bischoff, and any companies related.
Here a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Hang tight. Jane.
Yes.
Okay, Aaron.
Yes.
Bill.
No.
Mike.
Yes.
J.R.
I'm voting no because I feel we should give the man a chance since he's got some work coming to him here, and see if he make his work good on paying in July. So if he didn't get nothing in July, I would vote yes, but I got to say no right now.
It's 3 yeses to 2 noes.
3-2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can we close the special council meeting?
I want to make one other motion. I want to make the same motion, but for just Steve Linkmeyer on the storage buildings.
Here a second.
Second.
All opposed?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Go ahead. Roll call, please.
Oh, I thought they all. Oh, okay. Sorry. Jane.
Yes.
Aaron.
Yes.
Bill.
No.
Mike.
Yes.
And J.R.
No for the same reason.
Okay.
Ayes have it.
Still 3-2, yeah.
Close it.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Adjourned.
Now you just need to open the meeting for the revolving loan committee.
Now we're going to the meeting for the revolving loan committee.
Oh, you're a little happy here on roll call, aren't you?
I think you
Jane Pope.
Present.
Aaron Cook.
Here.
Bill Bruner.
Here.
Mike Lawrence.
Here.
J.R. Holcraft.
Still here.
Leslie Votaw.
Here.
Mayor Dennis Carr.
Here.
And myself.
Thank you. Part of the revolving loan fund committee meeting tonight is we did invite both United Community Bank and U.S. Bank and Friendship State Bank. Those are the 3 financial institutions that responded to our letter concerning their help with the revolving loan fund program. I did give you all a letter from Friendship Bank. They weren't going to be able to attend tonight, but they did send a letter basically with their willingness to be of service to us as well.
Leslie, I never received a letter.
Here's an extra copy. Did you all receive the letter?
That's the one from the council meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. But with that, like I said, we did ask them to be here at your request. You asked me to get in contact with them, and I sent them both copies of the loan, lists of the loans, and I came and made some copies that UCB did the other day, so they're ready to proceed. I guess, is there any preference who wants to go first?
No, Angie's going to go first.
I'll do it.
Good evening. My name's E.J. McLaughlin, President, CEO of United Community Bank. We were asked to come before this committee tonight. The letter from Leslie saying, present any proposals to assist us in the revolving loan fund program. Not a whole bunch more detail than that, but that's what we got. Before we start, my question is, who are the decision makers on these loans?
City Council.
The City Council? Okay.
This committee would do a positive or negative recommendation to City Council, but City Council would have the...
So is this everybody up here on this committee?
Yes.
So, okay, so it's the City Council and the mayor, Jackie.
Not me either.
Oh, I thought you meant everybody up here, so it's just the City Council.
The 5 council people.
Okay.
AG.
So just another, what's the goal of the decision makers? Is it to get as much money back for the citizens of Lawrenceburg? Is it to get out of the loans as quickly as possible? Any other
I
ideas?
requested that, I don't know if Leslie remember, but I requested that you ask the banks to give us a letter in writing with their proposal so we could review before this meeting.
Yeah, so I failed. I did ask if there's anything they wanted to present, but other than that, I thought...
And then that way we would have had more understanding what you were going to talk to us about, because we would have already had it on paper. So I think we'll listen to both of you, and then we'll probably have to table and make a decision. But my point is to get as much money back as we possibly can.
Okay.
Mine too, along with I'd like to get out of the loan business.
I have a question. So,
Could you go to that microphone, please, right
You'd
there?
have to...
Well, it's got to be recorded.
my question is that, and I'm with U.S. Bank. I'm Lee Kim. I am the market president. My question is, my understanding is that you guys wanted advice, basically from some banks who were willing to step up and maybe give you some advice on how to handle your current loan portfolio. So, I think at the onset of this meeting that, I can't speak on behalf of UCB, but as far as U.S. Bank, and I think them in tune, is we really didn't know what to expect when we came to this meeting. We didn't really have any step-by-step direction. It was more that you guys wanted to talk to us so that we could provide counsel to you. And so that on behalf of U.S. Bank, that's what I'm here to do tonight.
Okay, thank you, Lee. So basically, as Leslie said, we have the list of the loans. Last Thursday, we got a copy. We went and Leslie gave us a copy of the mortgages, some loan agreements, the notes, and that. So we got that. Over the last couple days, we have a list here of kind of what's all involved with maturity dates, interest rates, terms, principal and interest payments, interest-only payments. And after that review, it really raises a number of questions. You understand that. But I think a couple questions that really come to mind as we were going through this is, first, is there a privacy issue? I think a bank, obviously, to make any decision on any of these loans and what to do with them, they would have to get updated financial information, and that's updated non-public personal financial information. And this is information supplied by the bar to the city of Lawrenceburg. I would question whether any bank would think this is legal or not. But again, I'm sure the city could get some bank to sign some type of hold harmless agreement for a potential lawsuit filed. I think the bar might question you giving out this information. Again, just some of the information as we went through these loan files. The next question that popped up is a conflict of interest question. For example, and I'll pick on Lee since she's here. No. But say some bank, UCB, U.S. Bank, Friendship State Bank, also has a loan with this customer. And the city has a loan with this customer. And that loan with the city is a low interest rate, it's interest only, some pretty great terms. And if this borrower would have to go out and get market rates of interest, how would that affect the loan that they might have with the other bank? How would that affect them? They might not be able to cash flow on a global basis. And how would the bank handle that? So there could possibly be a conflict of interest, something you need to think about. But I think the whole thing with this process, it has to be transparent to the citizens of Lawrenceburg. If you're going to do anything, it has to be transparent. So to be perfectly honest with you, after we at UCB have looked at this, we believe the best way UCB can help the city is to help create an advisory committee. The task of this advisory committee is to select an individual that has knowledge, experience, and education to work on these loans that the city of Lawrenceburg has. This individual would be hired by the city of Lawrenceburg. This advisory committee would consist, in my mind, of a representative from U.S. Bank, a representative from Friendship State Bank, a representative from UCB, and anybody else, council people, mayor, clerk, treasurer, attorney, I don't care. But then you get a resume together from this advisory committee. Again, you just can't ask your neighbor or friend that might have some bookkeeping experience to go do that. You need somebody that knows how to analyze the cash flow of all these businesses, and not just the loans you have here, but their total portfolio, their global. You need that. You need updated appraisals. You need updated financial information. And again, because of the privacy issue, the conflict of interest, I worry about any bank wanting to do that without having the city of Lawrenceburg have to sign some kind of no-compete or conflict of interest. Obviously, there would be no charge for UCB, and I'm sure with U.S. Bank or Friendship Bank, no charge to the city for that. And if people say, another committee, but you put it down like this person would have to be hired by June 30th. And then that advisory committee continue to sit on and listen to what this person came up with. Again, I compliment everybody for addressing this issue, and this is the first step. However, remember, this loan process has been going on for about 10 years. You're not going to solve it overnight. You're not going to solve it overnight. I'd put it more like 2 years or 3 years that this person would be there. But again, you've got to get the right person. It can't just be anybody. You have to get the right person. How would you pay for this person? I would pay for it with the interest you're getting on the loans right now. There's probably enough money to pay for it that way. And again, I think the most important thing you have to remember, you have to make this transparent to the citizens of Lawrenceburg. You have to make it transparent to the city of Lawrenceburg, and I think you all realize that, and we'll do that. Yes, Jane?
Who would you recommend this person be?
Again, that's why I'd have the advisory committee. It's just not one person selecting that, but you'd have people that have commercial loan experience, that know how to analyze a financial statement, and I think that's what UCB, U.S. Bank, sitting on this committee could help you with.
You would have one person explain to the committee what they think we should do or they should do. Who's that one person?
Again, that's what the advisory committee would select, that one person. By June 30th, yes. And I know it's farther out, and we know it's the political season and stuff, but I think that would be just a good idea to, again, things aren't going to get resolved immediately.
How many people do you recommend be on this committee?
I would think at the most 6 or 7.
And then the recommendation from that committee would come back to the revolving loan committee?
If that's the process, yes.
Well, the committee wouldn't be able to vote. They would have to recommend back to city council. But the analyst you're talking about, that would be upon the recommendation of the advisory committee of who to hire, correct?
Right.
And that person would then go and vet all of the loans.
They would
Okay.
look at it. And again, you just can't put, hey, I want somebody with commercial loan experience. You put an ad like that in the newspaper, you're going to get, 200 applications. You don't need that. You need it more than somebody just has commercial loan experience. You need like a chief credit person. You need somebody that can analyze financials. First of all, you need to get financials, and then you need to analyze it.
Because what I'm hearing, the loans would stay within the city's hands.
They would
The
stay.
committee and the financial advisor would just advise us on how to handle the
Right.
loans.
Again, that's what I said. How quickly do you want to get out of these loans? To be perfectly honest, Jane, there's probably, and that's a good question, there's probably outfits out there from, I don't know, Washington, D.C. to California that are brokers, and they would come in and they want to buy loans, and they'll give you 20 cents on the dollar. 10 cents on the dollar, 30 cents. They have to come in and look at the loans, and they would do that. Again, they would need updated financials. They would need updated appraisals. They would need title searches.
And that would be an opinion from the analyst and the committee, and to bring back to council?
No. You were saying you wanted, would the city still hold on to them? Yes, the city, in what I talked about here, would hold on to these loans until they're resolved in the 2 or 3 years.
Would it be your recommendation in the meantime, before hiring this person, to move forward with getting appraisals on each one of these properties?
Mike, I don't think so at this point, because if you get the appraisal now, what is the appraisal telling you? First of all, you don't have the updated financial information in order for a commercial loan appraiser to do their job. So they would need updated financials. So I wouldn't just call up somebody, and there's plenty of people would do that, and they do it, but I think that'd be a waste of the city's money.
But I do agree with you as far as the privacy issue. When you're going to update the personal financial information, you're going to want to do that with someone that can keep it. Because if those updated personal financial information comes in front of this board, we're subject to the public records law. I mean, I don't know, other than having an executive session, that might be possible, but.
And again, I apologize. I don't know those laws. And I know, and sometimes I think this committee, and Lee and I were talking outside a little bit, we're not really sure what you expected, but if you expect a bank to come in and say, hey, we'll do this, this, and this, and get it resolved in 3 months and we're all gone, it's just, I'd like to tell you that, and maybe Lee will get up here and tell you, hey, they can get it resolved in 3 months, but it's not going to happen. It's going to take you a while to unwind it, and it's tough. We've got to, let's admit it, it's a political season now. So we've got to get beyond that. You can't be looking in the rearview mirror, what happened and stuff. It's there. You just got to go forward. It's tough to do. It's always nice to look in the rearview mirror, but you're all tasked with this problem now, so you just need to move forward and stuff. And I compliment you, because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get this situation resolved.
Any more? Board?
Sounds good. Sounds like a plan. A good plan.
Okay.
Thank you, E.J.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Hello, I'm Lee Kim, and I am the market president for Southeastern Indiana U.S. Bank. And what I would say is EG has a really good plan, and I think that the banks are willing to work with you to try to help you resolve it. But, it's not going to be an easy task. As I look at the loans and look at, the situation that you're in, you guys have a lot of decisions to make. And they're not easy decisions, but, you are being progressive and you are moving forward, which is a big part of that. I'm going to, I think that having the committee that EG talked about was a very, very good idea, and I think that's something you definitely need to consider. But I also want to give you just a couple other things to consider in addition to that so that you can make the best decision. And, I actually did some research on this. We came over, and Dan Gronick is actually the market president in Northern Kentucky. And he has worked with communities like yourself that have had a loan program and maybe wasn't structured the way it should be, or there's issues and somebody is put to the task of bail those issues out. So here's a couple things to consider in addition to EG's proposal. And at the end of the day, it falls in your lap to make that decision. Okay, so the first one is, obviously, I know that you've looked at the notes and you've looked at the mortgages, but you really need to revisit each note and mortgage to determine if you are in compliance with the promissory note and the mortgage. It's very important that you do that. You have to make sure that you're in line with the terms of default, that you have filed or sent notice of default based on the term of the mortgage or promissory note. So that's the first thing. If you haven't already gone through each one of those notes to see what the default clause is, you need to do that and make sure that you're in compliance with that, okay? The second thing is that you've probably already done this, but you need to make sure that all the taxes are paid on the properties and that insurance policies are in place with you as lost payee, the city as lost payee, okay, to protect yourself. The third thing is you need to perform a site visit to all of these properties and make sure that they're owner-occupied. And for some reason, if there's a sublet, you need to make sure that that's not in a covenant violation, okay, to kind of get your ducks in a row. The fourth thing I would say is if you believe in that loan package, and the committee can do this like EG said, or whatever, however you form that, if you believe that there are loans that you feel are good performing loans, which when I look at this, there are some loans that are performing, you want to see if you want to make any modifications or renewals to keep those loans going and keeping those paid. Other loans on the list, I know that there's been some motions here, other loans on the list that are not performing, you have to decide what you want to do with those. Do you want a committee overseeing those? Do you want to oversee those? Or do you basically want to hire somebody to oversee those for you? There's several options there. You prepare the loan modifications and renewals that will remain basically in the paying portfolio. You can actually hire a third party to oversee the collections of non-performing loans. Okay, and they will handle the legal proceedings for you, and they will also handle any potential sale of undesirable credits. Third party would also oversee any foreclosure or properties and associated property preservation and fix-up for those foreclosures. So one of the things when I actually stepped out and talked to a couple of people that are very familiar with this type of process, they are adamant about third-party participation. And the reason is it takes, they're experts. Third parties, these groups are experts. They understand what they're dealing with. They've seen portfolios like yours, and they know how to handle them. They know how to collect them. They know how to get the money back. If it's a total loss and there's not going to be any money, they know how to sell those to at least get you some money back. They evaluate the properties to see, where you're at. Are you upside down? Are you right-sided? And they'll look at that for you. And, as I look at this list and I look at some of the properties, I'm thinking, man, that's maybe something that you want to consider as a third party, because they do this every day. They're experts. They're hired by the city. They report to you, but they also have an unbiased non-conflict of interest designation so that there's none of that playing into it. And that's a concern that I have because, this is a very tight community and small community, and, we talked about the Privacy Act, we talked about confidentiality. It's very important that, you've got people here that their information's confidential. Those financials are confidential. And so how do you keep it confidential? Well, one of the ways is to work with a third party that would stay within the Privacy Act and also, some of the lending standards that are put forth. And then the last piece would be, discussions with the city around the future administration, which we're not even there yet, around what you're going to do going forward with loans. That's the last step. Once you get this corrected, how are you going to move forward and put this in a process and step that's going to make sense and that's going to work so that, maybe you don't have some of the issues they have now. And so that's really all I have. I mean, it's another piece to the puzzle. I like EG's idea, but I also think, with this situation, as I look at the portfolio, you might want to consider a third party. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Would that third party be the same as the analyst?
Well, you can consider that a third party, but a third party really, it would be hired from somebody outside this area. I would not suggest anybody inside this area that has a close relationship to anything that's going on in Dearborn County or Lawrenceburg. That would be my suggestion for the privacy piece. I mean, there's groups that, I can think of 2 companies right now in Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati that handle this kind of stuff. And if you come to that decision, then I'll disclose those names to you. But there are people that are handling things for the city of Cincinnati. There are people handling things for the city of Covington and Newport that's doing the same type of thing. Okay? Any other questions?
In that situation, as far as, the final decision as far as, for a particular debtor, would that still it would still come back to the committee, or, would they just do it as they saw fit to get you the
No,
most
I
money
think it's bringing somebody in and talking to them and seeing what their guidelines are and seeing how they operate and determining what part you guys play in it and what part you want them to play in it. They could give you really good examples of what they've done in the past, and you can say that's not going to work for us, or yeah, that's going to work for us. That's awesome. But it's really about having good communication and conversation to see what's available. The other thing is, if you do have a loan that obviously is matured and you don't remodify, but it's somebody, that probably could go get financing at, UCB, US Bank, Friendship, or whoever, it's also really putting a third party in place to say, we've looked at your financials or whatever, and you need to go try to get financing to free some of this, to move on, because it's been on the books too long. Okay?
What happens if they look at their finances and no bank will accept a?
Then it's your baby. And you'll have to decide, if you're going to modify to get payment, and you feel like it's collectible, then you would modify. If you feel like it's not, then you're going to have to make a decision on if you want it to go to collections or what you want to do with it. And that's where the third party would, would give you their opinion or whatever. Okay. And by the way, this third party has no association with U.S. Bank. It's people that we've hired from time to time to look at things for some of our customers, but there's no conflict of interest there. We don't like to operate that way. Anybody else? Okay.
No,
thank you.
Very good information. Thank you very much.
The bank didn't show.
No, Friendship couldn't make it tonight. Like I said, they did send the letter. You guys all got copies of the letter. They think they'd be willing to assist any way they can.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Pete. Go. State your name, Pete.
My name's Pete Zaharakos. One question.
So there's a certain number of loans out there, and some of them are current, have been since day one, as mine is. I'm just interested to know. Mike just said he doesn't like, he doesn't want to, he wants to get out of the loan business here. I don't blame him. But what's the decision of the council, of all you people, regarding just recasting or refinancing a loan like mine or somebody else's who's current and never missed a beat? Is that out of the question, or is there an openness? Is there an openness to that?
No, that's what this discussion has been with for the banks, or with the banks.
No, I understand. Well, but so the city is not going to be open to redoing anybody's loan, period.
No, I think just the opposite is what we're saying. I mean, especially on people that have made their loans, but we're needing help, and the local banks have come up with some solutions on how to work that. There have been discussions before about selling off, and that's going to be something that this board is going to need to decide. Selling off the loans and just getting rid of them completely. I don't know where the board is on that, but obviously that's one of our options. But my feeling is as far as and I don't vote, but as far as talking with the people I've talked to in the last year on this, that they seem dedicated. Look at the show of people that actually are loan recipients that are here tonight. I do think that, especially ones that have been paying, should have that chance.
So are you all saying that from here out, well, this administration will be here, but for future administrations, that never again is Lawrenceburg going to loan money out for any similar kinds of scenarios?
The revolving loan committee was established by ordinance, and that ordinance established on how we proceed with future loans. This committee, as is comprised right now, has decided we need to deal with these first before they give out any new loans.
If they do. If
they do, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak while we're here?
I have a question, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I have a question. If you were looking at all of the loans that you have now, how could you guys make the motion on the loans that you just did and single them out when there are loans by other people who are just as delinquent and just as large amount?
There's nobody that's as delinquent as I know of.
Is Davis up to date?
Well, I think it's 4 payments versus 3 years.
Well, I just remember that in a meeting that I was recently in, someone even made a comment about him being able to start making payments.
I think I was reviewing 4 payments. He's late on each loan out of 2 loans.
So that's 8 payments, and then the other person hasn't paid since 2012.
Right.
Okay. But I'm just asking because I've been to all these meetings except for one, and I know that you guys gave that person till June or July or something, and then you come in here and you're talking about all the loans that are together, and then you vote on that one particular. I'm just all about what's fair.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to treat one person that way, you need to treat them all that way.
There should have been a letter.
That's my question.
There should have been letters that went out, just like to this one, giving them notice, and they did. Is that correct, Leslie?
What is it? I'm sorry.
There was letters that went out to, like, Mr. Davis.
Mm-hmm.
How long has that been?
Those were sent out, I believe February, because it was 30 and then 60, I believe,
Yep.
right?
And I know the last time we were here, Aaron kind of got a little miffed with me and asked me if I had any ideas on how to collect this money, to speak up. Well, I think if you send out a letter in February that says you need to do something by April and they don't do it, you need to take the next step. At this point, all you are threatening parents. You're not following through with anything. And I think if you would follow through, people would be more apt to jump on the bandwagon and get their stuff together. But if you're just going to idly, randomly send out letters, they're not going to pay any attention. you know? So that was my suggestion after I had time to think about it. So that's all, I just didn't know how you could make that motion on one loan and not all of them. That was just my question.
Well, the delinquent part's the big difference of how long.
Yeah, and I understand that, you know, I mean, you know that I'm not for that, you know, but I just wondered because it had been, that was one of the ones that's been discussed in almost every meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dennis Hutchins. Mike, JR made reference to that very point when he voted. I thought he should have said it under discussion, but nevertheless, you did talk about it. And I was here when Linkmeyer agreed to pay $175,000, roughly, in July.
He agreed to pay the interest on the loan.
Up to full interest at $175,000. That's on the table here to collect by July.
We don't have that in writing. He wouldn't give it in writing.
Why don't you give him one more opportunity to do it in writing? I'm just asking.
3 years, I mean.
All right, I'm just saying, well, you guys were never this serious before now either. Fair enough?
Well, I think he could still come to the table with that motion.
Well, I just, you know, it's $178,000 maybe, $179,000 is a lot of money.
185 is what we talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought JR had a good point. It's a lot of money. Thanks.
We talked about last year that he said he was going to be current by December something, right, with all the interest, and that didn't happen.
I hear you.
And then he's been saying for 3 months that he's going to bring in the contract for some work he's doing to pay the city back. That never happened.
Yeah,
so
I was at that meeting.
Every deal he's come up with the city is not coming to fruition.
Fair enough.
You guys voted a little bit, and then you listened to the bankers, and now we've got a situation. Are you sure you have all your T's crossed and I's dotted to go forth with this after what I just heard from some bankers that I thought gave you some pretty good advice? I ain't so sure you're making the right move on this particular thing. And as far as, you know, Stevie said this and Stevie said that, there's some people in here that said some things to him. Never happened either. I mean, I'd just like to see everybody have a fair shot, go about it the right way, but I'm a little, I thought there were some good ideas thrown at you guys here, and I don't know whether you know, if you feel all right going forth with what you're talking about here, fine. You got a decision to make, but it's a big one. So just make sure, you know, you do have it all just right.
Like Mike said earlier, I mean, he can come to the table with a different offer if someone's made him some other deals. I mean, I've never heard anything about it. I mean, maybe he can come speak on that, and if it's not public information, maybe he can get a hold of somebody else, or, I mean, I don't know anything about what happened. All I know is that,
Okay, here's another question I have then. Has anybody, the council people now, actually had that sit down to take Mario, Mike, Grant, I don't even know how much Grant was involved in it, Mr. Cunningham, and, you know, it's all happened for all you guys. I'm not blaming any of you. Somebody had an idea. That idea started here and it ended here. Has anybody, before we go through with this, taken the time to really know what the plan was? There's two guys that sit right over there that know. And the mayor put them on a project. And I believe that, in all fairness to everybody involved, and I mentioned Stevie's name, but by you guys doing this, you're involving Rural Lumber, top quality, all right concrete, Row. You get my point. There's probably about 50 names involved. That this is actually going to hurt, guys. It's going to hurt. So all I'm asking you to do is to make sure you're right. And I personally think that it should be demanded that you hear the story from beginning to end what would have been before you make any harsh decisions. And I hope you listen to these bankers, and I think you're right, Mike. I mean, I don't think we need to be in the loan business. There's a lot of good things happening here, but we got to make sure we do them right. And we got to make sure it doesn't hurt the whole community. I mean, you guys, you know, we can foreclose on him, and he owes an amount of money that he cannot pay back. He can't pay it back. When you develop something, it goes in phases. You need this. You need these phases to work. And you know, he just a guy that went into this deal, and I suspect that he was a pretty decent businessman around town, and he could walk in and out of stores and buy things that he needed. He had his credit up, he paid his guys, and then all of a sudden he got into a deal and things stopped on him, and now look what happened. You know, it's easy to back off and leave him out front to take all the brunt. I just don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I sure wish when I asked that question, has anybody ever sat down and know the story from beginning to end? I wish one of you guys could have looked at me and said, yes, I do. I know it. We don't know it. We'd like to hear it. We'd like to know what was happening, when it was happening, and what the end result was supposed to look like.
Mayor, did you have a discussion with Mike and Mario?
I knew some of it. I wasn't there for the original deal. I don't know what happened to the original deal.
And I can only go by what's in the development agreement, and, you know, I mean, that generally will tell us, but...
Mike and Mario's had 3 years opportunity to explain. I do like what you had to say, though. I'm interested now, you know, what was the original deal? What was the agreements? What did they expect of?
Before you make a decision, and I know, Mike, I mean, you got our differences on this, but you know damn good and well this is going to ruin his life. Before you make a decision that ruins a guy's life, you make sure you know the whole story.
What if nobody's willing to tell the story? Because I wasn't here, and this is from 5 years ago.
Paul, let's go back to the microphone.
If you know somebody's willing to tell the story, I mean, I'll ask him at the public meeting, but I don't know.
Never been asked. I've been in here lots of times.
I don't know. You've mentioned it.
I don't know who to ask. I'll ask if you tell me to ask.
I've given you guys a hint. Tonight I'm asking you to do it. I sit back and I throw hints out, and I've done it.
Well, you've mentioned it, and you put the hints
Yes, I know I have,
and they
Jane.
never came to us.
Well, it doesn't need to be done in public. I don't care when it gets done, but boy, I sure would like to know the story.
But the thing is, that's the problem. At the situation we're sitting in, you even heard EG say it has to be transparent. It's the public's business. It has to be done out in the open. And I don't know, Mike.
I don't know that it's a public's business that can be brought out in the open at the right time. But you know, this atmosphere here, we got people afraid they're going to lose their jobs. You know, I'm not blaming them guys. They had a mayor that probably told them, and I'm not blaming the mayor. No different than you guys. If you come up with a good idea, I hope these guys would. If either one of you get a good idea and you put these guys on it, I hope they do a job for you and go out and do what you want them to do. But there's people around here afraid they're going to lose their jobs. I don't know if that's the reason why they don't say nothing. Maybe I am totally wrong. Maybe Stevie is just flat out wrong and he should be done this too. But I've asked this question and it ain't been answered, and I'd sure like to know. Because the bottom line is he's just an ordinary guy that was trying to do a job, and somehow or another it went wrong, guys. And the way I see it went wrong was because we had an administration that had a different idea and they cut it off. When you cut off a project, you think for a second Stevie Linkmar's going to come and go to one of these bankers and say, hey, I need another $2 or $3 million? I ain't going to do it. This was Bill's idea. I don't know. I shouldn't say that. Whoever's idea. Might have been a good one. You know, I don't know, was it worth it to get them 80 families up there behind Walmart? It's everybody's opinion. Everything around here can be decided on in 4 or 5 years whether it's a good idea. All I'm asking you to do is the one thing before you take this forward. It seems to me like the advice these guys just gave you, that's enough reason to at least wait before you go foreclosing on this to make sure that you've got everything done right. Some of the questions that E.G. asked, I thought were, okay, are they ready for this if it happens, or is this going to bring some type of a rebutment from him?
Well, there will be somebody that specializes in foreclosures and real estate.
So this ain't necessarily that it's going to happen tomorrow. It's something.
I hope he comes to the table. I hope there's something to be worked out.
And as far as the public thing and a public meeting, I don't know why a group couldn't get together and go back in that back room and just say, look, we want to hear the story, and this is going to come out. We want to tell everybody about it, but we don't know about it. You tell us what was going to happen. Don't worry about it. You tell us. I want to know what the plan was, because I think it's going to tell you guys a lot, whether it be in his favor or not. I mean, yes, I do know him, but we all know a lot of people around here. That could have been me. They could have came to me. They could have had an idea, put money in my hands that I would have been impressed with, and nothing can go wrong when you got $3 million in your hand. Yeah, that ain't true. And that's being proved right now.
Leslie, how can we legally do that? How can we find out what the plan was?
He's just saying we need to ask him to sit down and talk to us. I mean, that's it.
Steve has called and tried to sit down with everyone on numerous occasions.
Mr. Seymour's inferring there's more to this plan.
I'm not inferring anybody did anything wrong, but I guarantee you that those two right over there can tell you everything you need to know about what was going to happen from day one to day 101.
I'm sure they can.
And I like them too, okay? I'm disappointed that they ain't spoke up in the last 3 years. Barry.
Bill, what do you have something to say?
No, just, I mean, it's a big story, but, I mean, for starters, you at least have to talk to Mr. Linkmeyer. You know, Mr. Linkmeyer's tried to make contact and to get people down on the site to discuss everything. And I know there's people that, the council people that haven't went down there, and, you know, that's kind of where it starts. You know, it's our fault, too. When we first came in, the loan program, everything was shut down. We paid it no attention until, what, 12?
December of 13.
13. So, I mean, those loans were dormant. You know, they were maturing. They were doing all the things that we weren't watching. And, you know, now here we are, you know, trying to get some advice, some good advice. And, you know, if we would have took it head on early, we would probably be in a different position than we are right now, you know, instead of starting at ground zero. So
it was taken on early, but the mayor wanted to appoint a private committee, and then we decided as a group that the council itself would be the loan committee. That was the holdup. We started tackling it right away in 2012. It just took us a while to work it out to get the loan committee established, which ended up being council.
It was first brought to you, there was a memo from Grant in May of 2012.
Right.
In June of 2012, I think you had put out whatever, but I looked through all the notes.
I know I gave up my seat. You gave up your seat.
Right.
So that other council people, I believe you were one that
I think
sat on it.
originally it was 2 property owners. 2 property owners and 3 members, elected officials.
And
Which I guess would be.
So when did we finally
similar
get the
to-
loan committee established?
When I put
As
all the council
president.
people on.
In 13, December, the ordinance was passed December of 13.
But we actually started working on it in 2012.
I believe so, May of 2012.
Is any more of the audience want to speak? Kelly.
quite a few of us have been coming to these meetings and other meetings for quite some time. The whole deal with Mr. Linkmeyer is no different than a lot of the deals that were made for other people sitting in this audience. And the problem that you all have had is lack of communication. I didn't see anybody ever, I mean, why can't you just talk to these people? And there's people that took out these loans whenever, 2009, whatever the case may be. Things have happened from 2009 until now. The first response that I heard out of these loan committee meetings was, we want to foreclose on this, foreclose on that. Does the city is already in a position where they shouldn't have been. They should not have been making loans. They're not bankers. What gives any of you the qualifications to be a loan committee? Nothing.
Somebody has to deal with them.
I agree.
I mentioned I'm not a banker, but
I agree.
I was put in this position.
But when you look at all these promissory notes and things like that, do you really know what you're reading?
I can read the past history of payments, and the only reason I agree with this one today is because the one we were talking about earlier, the one you're speaking of, hasn't paid a payment since 2012.
I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing that, Aaron. I agree with you. I mean, I'm just saying that.
And yes, we can
If you didn't make your house payment since 2012, would the bank just let you go?
I'm sure there's been other people that have had loans that have been behind in this arena, and they either paid them up or whatever. But the thing is, what I'm saying is, as a council, being the loan committee, there's no qualifications. I know, but there's no qualifications for being a council member, no qualifications for being a mayor, no qualifications for being a clerk treasurer. I get that. So, you know, the public elects who they want. But you guys have been the decision makers, and you all of a sudden decide, well, we're going to be the loan committee. This council has been micromanaging everything that goes on within this city. And that's got to stop. That's why people are afraid to speak up. You've got employees of the city that are afraid to speak up because they're afraid of their job, like Mr. Seymour had said. And that's no way to run the city. Okay? But the problem that I've seen out of this council since I've been following it for years is communication. Whether it's communication with Hollywood Casino, because we're all up in arms over this $58 million event center, whether we want it or not, it's here. Now we got to learn to support it. But you guys, you got to learn to communicate. You got to communicate with every one of these people who got these outstanding loans that are delinquent. You need to find out the full story. I mean, that's the easiest way to understand where the people on this side of the podium is coming from that have these loans. You know, Mr. Linkmeyer, and I say what you want. I mean, he's been ruined. I think even if you don't foreclose, he's probably close to ruined. Okay? I mean, there's been a lot of stuff written, whether it's true or not true, or whatever the case may be, a lot of stuff written about a lot of people in this town. And I believe his name's been brought through the mud quite a bit, and it's one I hear every time I come to a loan committee. I don't hear anybody else's name but Mr. Linkmeyer. I don't understand it. And I think it's just a communication problem that you guys need to just sit down and talk to each one of these people and then decide. I mean, the first thing we wanted to do tonight was foreclose on somebody, and then we asked the advice of the professionals.
Well, actually, if you read the notice, the first meeting was to make any votes pertaining to the executive session. I followed that. That's what was posted. So,
well, I can't dispute that, Mike. I mean,
you say it's the first thing you want to do. I don't want to do it. I hate to do it. But I feel like it's something that has to be done. And this isn't the only one. Our last meeting was about the Dearborn Golf Resort, if I remember correctly. It wasn't had anything to do with this.
And every loan has now been discussed from the start.
Okay, but this was the only one you decided to foreclose on, right?
Yes.
So that's the only one.
It's the only one 2.5 years behind.
Right. But has anybody asked him why?
He's been here plenty of times.
But without being...
As Paul said, get the story, but who am I going to ask? Every person's room, do you know the story? Do you know the story?
No. He needs to be the one to tell you the story. Not the hearsay, not Facebook, not anything else.
We've asked for, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We've asked for any type of payment, make some type of payment, anything.
I think there's so much animosity between this group and Mr. Linkmeyer, and probably this group and other people with their delinquent on loans, that they don't want to play their hand at this point. So, I'm just saying, I've listened to this, and it's about communication, guys, and I don't see it. So.
Well, you don't know that we haven't been communicating with these people, and
I don't know if I don't.
And I take offense to you thinking that me and my fellow councilmen cannot read a contract and not understand it. No, I'm not a banker. I'm not an attorney, but we got listed all the contracts that were made between each of the people that were loaned money. I read them. I understood them.
Okay. I didn't say you didn't.
Well, you said we're not. Basically, you said we're not intelligent enough.
No, I didn't say that.
To know what's in the contract.
I did not say that, Jane. I did not say that.
Well, I will say.
I said, do you think you're qualified? Jane, I said, do you think you're qualified?
I want to finish, Mr. McMullen.
No, Mr.
Milan.
Thank you.
I read every one of those contracts.
I'm sure you did.
Those agreements. And I understood the terms.
Okay.
And I understood that with the information that Mr. Hayden gave us, they did not meet the terms of the agreement.
Okay.
And we have communicated, and I have personally communicated with people in this audience in group settings to discuss their loans. So we have been communicating with the people that we gave loans. And Leslie, have we or have we not?
Yes. One in particular, what we talked about the last time, but also, I've had personal contact with about everybody.
But you're not the one making the...
they're a little concerned.
The foreclosure motions either, so.
True.
I just think, you're going to... I'll just mimic what Paul said, and I'll get down, but after what you heard from the guys that make a living doing this stuff, it would be worth reconsidering just until you get everything. The last thing you want is being a foreclosure, in court and everything else. Then whose money are you spending?
Well, there's 3.3 million, with the other one over 3.4 million, I think, of the people's money gone.
And you weren't responsible for that. You didn't loan that out to begin with. I understand it. Everybody in this audience understands that.
I have sat here and I've done the best job I possibly can, and I'll sit here and tell you, if I do wrong and I've done wrong, I accept the responsibility that I done it.
Of course.
No blame to anybody else. And what I done tonight, I believe, was the best thing for this citizen and the citizens to do.
Okay.
And you might have the opportunity to sit in that chair and find out it's not so easy to sit up here.
Trust me, Mike, I don't think it's easy. I don't think it's easy. So, that's all I got to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
I don't know. What the banks brought forward. That's what I was hoping that we could at least...
I think we need some time to consider it.
Anybody want anything? Motion for what?
Off of what EG said, I think he's got a great plan laid out. And my own personal feelings, it should just be, whether it's 3 or 4 banks, somebody from each one of them banks on that committee, and then find a good person to recommend, as he was saying. That's their business.
Anybody else?
No, I think EG has a good plan. We are not bankers.
Mike, you want to put that in the motion, or?
Yeah.
It would be a recommendation to City Council, and we could definitely bring that on the agenda at next week's meeting.
So just do a recommendation? I'd make a recommendation to follow through with E.G. McLaughlin's advice for a committee, and I'm going to say a committee existing of only people that work at a bank, and no more than 5 maximum. I'm okay with 3, but 5 maximum, to find somebody to oversee these loans and to make recommendations to the council.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are we going to add the analyst to that, which was in his recommendation?
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
The council the mayor has the ability to appoint those members, but you can do a select committee just for this reason. So, I mean.
I don't have any problem with them. Let them select them.
Okay.
Let the council select.
All right. Well, I'll make sure that this gets on to the agenda for Monday's meeting then.
E.G., can you come up with a list of names that we can select from to appoint to that committee?
I took it that it would be one person from each bank that the bank would nominate.
That's what I would do.
Yes.
You're probably going to have to go through your board or something too, right? I mean, maybe.
Well, I'm not sure. I think somebody from U.S. Bank, somebody from Friendship State Bank. You said those were the 3 that did it. But also, Mike, and I understand what you're saying, but again, they're not going to be the final decision maker.
No, I said to make recommendation to the council.
Okay.
Okay, so that's why I think there should be some council people. But again, we could start off with that. I think that gets you initially going. I think Lee and I.
Could you guys come up to the microphone, please? I got to tape all this.
I just felt that way. If there's no council members, there's no influence. So everybody's clear.
Work together on it and try to make a recommendation for an analyst, like E.G. said. But the thing that you have to understand, we are an advisory board only. We can't really oversee loans that we don't bring in-house and make our own decisions on. There's legalities there.
And again, this is more than analysts. And Jane, I think you mean that when you say analyst. Excuse me, but this is somebody that really can get in and go through a person's financial statement, go through that and make recommendation. They have that commercial loan background to do that. But again, what I'm saying though, if the 3 banks would get together, then is the council then? It's going to be a blanket approval? I assume not. I wouldn't, if I was in your shoes,
a recommendation of that person that would come before the council.
Okay.
Then the council would vote.
Okay. I mean, I would think the council people, being the decision maker, I mean, really, it's on your shoulders, would want, to hear what this person has to say, because you're going to have to be working with that person.
You need to, basically perform an interview with that person. Mm-hmm. To be honest, and you have to be, all of you need to be very comfortable with that individual, that individual is going to guide you guys to make the right decisions on these loans.
But we can start off with the 3.
Yeah.
How can we advertise for that, or?
I think that's where you kind of have to give us the opportunity to try to put our heads together and find some recommendations.
Okay.
Because I don't think that you want to put a blanket advertisement out there.
But are you required to put a blanket advertisement out there? And again, those kind of things I don't know.
If you have a chance before Monday's meeting, if you have someone in mind that you would want to be on the board, on the committee from your bank, that would be up to you all as far as that goes. But if you have any names,
to be on the committee as far as an advisor,
right?
Yeah, because there wouldn't be anybody from our institution that serves as the analyst, so to speak.
Right.
And yes. I agree with what she stated earlier. I consider the third party and the analyst one and the same.
Yes, absolutely.
Be from not around here.
But you guys have to decide what that person's going to handle for you, what aspects of the loan review.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, thanks.
Board have any more? Entertain a motion adjourn.
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I am still looking for appraisals. I have one more place to look. I spent 3 days last week going through all the time. I got 4 boxes left. And one, I think we appraised